Very good morning. You're watching Verdict 2014 on Rajya Sabha television. I'm your host Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Preparations are on in full swing for the second phase of assembly polls in Jharkhand and Jammu and Kashmir. Close to 400 candidates, including former chief ministers, in the fray tomorrow. BJP President Amit Shah will launch the party's campaign for the remaining phases, will address multiple rallies in Jharkhand today. And National Conference files complaints to the Election Commission against Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Home Minister Rajnath Singh alleges model code violations by them. Preparations are on in place for the second phase of assembly polls in Jharkhand and Jammu and Kashmir for tomorrow. Campaigning for this phase ended on Sunday. High-pitched campaign in both the states followed an impressive voter turnout in the first phase. Security arrangements have been stepped up in the valley after terrorist attacks in Arnia and Srinagar after the first phase of polling. In all, 38 assembly seats will be at stake tomorrow. Out of them, 18 are in Jammu and Kashmir, and close to 400 candidates are in the fray in the two states, with quite a handful of heavyweight candidates. In Jharkhand, former Chief Ministers Arjun Munda and Madhukoda are the two biggest names in the fray tomorrow. Three ministers of the Soren cabinet are also seeking re-election in this phase. Former Deputy Chief Minister Raghuvar Das is also in the fray from Jamshedpur East seat. Meanwhile, in Jammu and Kashmir, as many as 4 ministers of the Umar Abdullah cabinet will be seeking re-election. Separatist leader Sajad Lone is also in the fray from Handwara seat. Well, as campaigning for the second phase of elections in Jammu and Kashmir and Jharkhand came to an end on Sunday, political parties are now focusing on the upcoming phases of polls. A day after addressing a rally in Kolkata, BJP President Amit Shah will hit the campaign trail in Jharkhand today. He will address a series of rallies in Bari, Haziribagh, Ramgarh and Mandu. These seats will go to polls in the third phase on the 9th of December. He is also scheduled to hold a public meeting in Bokaro, where polling will be held in the fourth phase on the 14th of December. Moving on now, the National Conference has filed a complaint against Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the Election Commission. The party alleged that he made defamatory speeches against the party leadership during his recent speeches in rallies in the state. In a letter to the Chief Election Commissioner, NC spokesman Junaid Azim Mattu in fact quoted examples of the defamatory remarks. He said that this is not only violated the Model Code of Conduct but also contravened all laws. Mattu claimed that the Prime Minister raised unsubstantiated allegations against the National Conference leadership, which according to him was not only a case of defamation but also a violation of the Model Code of Conduct. The National Conference has also filed a complaint against Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh for allegedly violating the Model Code of Conduct. NC spokesman Junaid Azim Mattu in fact wrote to the Chief Election Commissioner stating that the Home Minister used Srinagar International Airport premises for campaigning. He said that the building comes under the purview of the government and the Model Code of Conduct. On Friday, Rajnath Singh telephonically addressed a public gathering in Akhad, Pahalgam from the airport, since bad weather prevented him from attending the rallies. Well, there can be few bigger threats to a population than a perpetual fire raging just meters deep across their town. Just that is the case in Jharkhand in Dhanbad district. Governments and promises have come and gone, but little has changed here. Life is about living under a permanent cloud of danger. Here's a report.
Every once in a while, once a week or so, the blaze that rages just below the surface flares up, raising havoc, often disaster and death. And that's besides the perpetual effects on air, water and land. Smoke from these fires contains poisonous gases such as oxides and dioxides of carbon, nitrogen and sulfur. Particulate matter causes several lung and skin diseases. The people of Rajya, down several generations now, have learned to live with it. Successive governments have promised steps to douse the flames and make the surroundings more livable. Some people have even been relocated. but the state of things leaves a lot to be desired.
50 साल की गैस जो निकल रहा है यहाँ पे, हम लोग गर्मी में इतना तप रहे हैं मगर ये बीसीएल को ध्यान नहीं है और बीसीएल ये चाहते हैं कि यहाँ से जितना जल्दी हो सके हम लोग यहाँ से चले जाएं और ऐसा जगह दे रहे हैं जहाँ पर जानवर रहना पसंद नहीं करेंगे।
वही आग है, कब का हो जाएगा, सब अंदर चले जाएंगे, का होगा, खतरा की जगह है, कोई जगह बढ़िया देख के मतलब हम लोग का वहाँ अपना घर दिया जाए कि हम लोग बाल सुख शांति से रहें।
Close to 1.5 lakh people are still to be moved out. Bharat Coking Coal Limited, BCCL, has even set up a township for the displaced people in neighbouring Belgaria town. But officials say the evacuation process is slow and full of hold-ups.
डेफिनेटली बीसीसीएल को खराब लगता है और खराब लगेगा और बीसीसीएल इस प्रकार की घटना ना घटे इसकी पहल करने के लिए हर एक को पास अपील करता है, चाहे वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट हो, चाहे वो वहाँ का मजदूर हो, चाहे वहाँ का रहने वाला हो।
It's not as if the administration hasn't had time to shift the people. Jharia's coal mine fires have been raging since the 1920s. There are about 20 fire spots covering an area of about 17 square kilometers. Jharia coal field in Dhanbad stretches from west to east in the shape of a sickle. Experts say modern techniques can now be adopted to put out the inferno.
झरिया फायर के ऊपर देखिए सीएमआरआई की तरफ से भी विस्तृत अध्ययन हुआ है और इसके लिए एक रिपोर्ट भी बहुत पहले बन चुकी है। स्थिति तो भयावह है लेकिन इस पर कंट्रोल पाया जा सकता है। तमाम सारे डिफेंसिव मेजर्स हैं जिन मेजर्स को लेकर के झरिया फायर पर कंट्रोल पाया जा सकता है।
Political response to this perpetual threat decides which party the people of the region vote for. Promises abound ahead of every election and they fade into virtually no action after votes are cast. The sitting MLA in Jharia is from Bihar. The constituency goes to polls in the third phase on the 14th of December. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, Hazaribagh district in Jharkhand is set to witness an interesting contest between national and regional parties. Once represented by senior BJP leader Yashwant Sinha, the district still lacks even basic amenities. Bad roads, shortage of water and power supply are just some of the problems faced by the residents here. Let's take a closer look at the district.
It's been 14 years since Jharkhand became a separate state. And since then, political parties at both the national and regional level have been making tall promises on bringing development to the state's tribal districts. But there's little to show for it on the ground. District Hazaribagh is proof enough. Set aside elaborate promises of 24/7 power supply, quality roads and world-class hospitals. Even basic living conditions remain a far cry. People complain about the callous approach of successive governments down the years.
विधायक सर्वदलीय हो जो कि हमारा विकास कर सके, जनप्रतिनिधि ऐसा होना चाहिए जो कि प्रशासन के साथ मिल बैठ के बात कर सके।
Perhaps the biggest casualty is education. The district has no university. Higher education means travelling to state capital Ranchi every day or moving out of home.
जो गरीबों को देखरेख करें, लड़कियों के सुरक्षा पे ध्यान दें, लड़कियों की शिक्षा सुरक्षा पे ध्यान दें।
Hazaribagh district has 5 assembly segments. The Congress party holds 2 seats while BJP, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and AJSU have 1 seat each. But the recent Lok Sabha elections have completely changed the political landscape in Hazaribagh, resulting in a tough competition between the JMM and the BJP. The BJP is heavily banking on its veteran leader Yashwant Sinha to influence voters, while the JMM is playing the tribal card in the district that has large number of tribal population.
देखिए, जहाँ तक बिजली की बात है तो सब लोग देख रहे हैं कि 6 घंटा 8 घंटा लोड शेडिंग होता है। जहाँ तक सड़क की बात है, एक तो भ्रष्टाचार इतना है, थोड़ा बहुत सड़क जो बनता है आज और कल उखड़ते चलता है। पानी तो जो थोड़ा बहुत मिलता है, पानी कितना मिलता है, अगर अपने लोग व्यवस्था नहीं करें तो यहाँ से पीने वाला मर जाएगा।
Locals believe tribal-dominated Hazaribagh needs consistent government intervention on building basic infrastructure. Political parties have been promising employment and development in the backward region, but experts are skeptical. The last 5 years of political instability and frequent bouts of president's rule have raised concern amid hope that the lessons have been learnt. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's it on the morning edition of Verdict 2014. Bye-bye.